We are now live. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon for our AWE webinar, all about our Defence Undergraduate Sponsorship Scheme. So my name is Rachel Jeans and I work in the recruitment team here at AWE, primarily in early careers, trying to recruit lovely undergraduates for summer placements, year in industry and the scholarship programme. Today I've also got Adam joining me. So Adam is from our Future Talent team and leads across our Evolve grad programme, the DISA scheme and year in industry for us to make sure everyone has the best experience at AWE. And also we have 4 of our fabulous scholarship students with us who are currently on their summer placements at the moment for July and August, and they're going to give a little bit of an overview a little bit later on as to what they've been up to. Hopefully some great things about their placements so far, just to give you an idea and a flavour of what you could expect if you do decide to apply and get through to work for AWE. To start with, I will go over what AWE actually is. Who are we? What does AWE do? Hopefully break some misconceptions or go over some of the myths so that maybe you're out there about AWE. So AWE stands for the Atomic Weapons Establishment. And we are responsible for maintaining the continuous at-sea nuclear deterrent program for the government. So our vitally important mission, something that everyone who works for AWE feels very, very important, undertaking, feels very much, safe and secure. We know how much we're providing towards the nation. And really it just brings us all together in understanding our mission and the end goal of what we do. We are the only company in the UK, the only organisation that does this. We are unique in that respect. You will not learn, understand, get to grips with anything elsewhere that AWE does. So it's such a unique place for you to try and get a scholarship scheme with, or a graduate job, or you're in industry, any kind of role with us in the future. We do this for the government in different ways. So, of course, we make nuclear warheads. We run the Trident program, which has been going for over 30 years now, where we make the nuclear warheads that go into nuclear submarines. We are still maintaining that program, and we will be responsible for the decommissioning of that program in the future. Excitingly, we are now governed by the government to do the replacement warhead program. So a brand new program over the next 10, 20, 30 years to replace Trident. So anyone joining in early career space, that is a really exciting time to be with us as that all unfolds and we start to design, manufacture, obviously produce and have all the infrastructure in place and to make the replacement nuclear warheads. We also act in a big realm to do with national security. So people wouldn't know that. It's quite an unknown thing about AWE, but we actually provide a lot towards the government to do with counter-terrorism. Whether that's monitoring the borders, you might not know, but we might be there monitoring airports, shipping ports, any kind of suspicious, I can't speak today, suspicious substances coming into the country, which we don't want. We are there monitoring and advising that to the government. And we also do monitoring seismically. So we have a site that monitors seismic waves, which you probably wouldn't know about. And they do that as part of the nuclear test ban treaty. So we're monitoring that other countries aren't doing anything they shouldn't be doing with any kind of weapons out there in the world. And we also obviously do give information back to other countries about any kind of seismic activity going on as well as part of that. So I think what I'll do after this bit is I will pass on to Adam and we can have a little chat about why all of us really like working for AWE, why it's a really good company to work for, and we'll have a little look at what the Defence Undergraduate Scholarship Scheme is and how it works for you as well. Fab, over to you, Adam.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. So yeah, nice to meet everybody. Thank you for joining today. This is probably, these slides are probably quite relevant for me. I've only joined AWE 3 months ago, so I'm relatively new to the organisation. And for a lot of people in AWE terms, that's a really short space of time. I came across from, I've worked in the technology industry, I've worked in the banking industry, so it's a real change of industry for me. And so a lot of the things I'm going to talk about on this slide were things that I looked at when I was applying a few months ago. And AW is, as we referred to, is genuinely a really unique place, not just in terms of what we do, the nature of our work. As Rachel said, it's the only place who does what we do. But in terms of how employees are looked after, in terms of how employees' careers are developed, for me, it was a really big reason for joining. And since I've been here for 3 months, I've really seen it in action. So we are regularly voted in the top 100 large employers in the UK. We're even in the top 25 best big companies to work for. And there's a lot of information gathering, a lot of research that goes on behind those surveys and those ratings. So it is an employer that will really look after you, and is a genuinely great place to work. Part of that is the 9-day working fortnight, which again is very unique. So not many companies will offer this. So essentially, as it says there, every 2 weeks we work 9 days. So what that means is every other Friday, the company will shut down to a certain extent, and nobody will work. And when we say nobody will work, that is genuinely the case. It's not sitting at home waiting to see if emails come in. You can genuinely every other Friday take it off, recharge, spend time with your friends and family, doing other things. So that's just one thing that has been brought in to help with that work-life balance and to help with AWE's focus on its employees. And nobody else does what we do. So as I say, the mission that we are working towards will really give you the opportunity to work at the cutting edge of science and technology. And obviously there's a lot of that we won't be able to talk about today, but some of the things that you will be doing will be really challenging, really important, and you wouldn't get the chance to do them elsewhere. So you're working with some really cool stuff, working with some really great people, and doing things which we only do here, and no one else can do that. And our facilities as well. So our main facilities, obviously on site, are in Berkshire. We do have other facilities across the UK, but our facilities, some of them are 1950s infrastructure. There is a big regeneration program going on to make sure that our facilities continue to be appropriate for what we need to do. But there's a huge amount of investment going in across AWE, which is reflected in the number of early careers candidates that we want to bring in as well. So wherever you work, the facilities you work in, again, will be cutting edge, will have the best technology and science housed within them that you will get to work with if you have a career with AWE. And throughout AWE, so if you join us, you will meet people that have worked here for 35, 40 years in some instances, and have moved around and done lots of different things. So our Evolve graduate program, which is one way into the organization, has a rotational element to it. So if you come in as an engineer, you think you know what you might want to do, or you come in on our science program and you have a vague idea of what you'd like to do, but you're not quite sure, you get the chance to rotate around different teams, do different types of engineering, different types of science, and help you kind of build your interest, build your knowledge, and figure out where you want to fit. Alternatively, if you really know what you want to do and you know the type of discipline you want to focus on, we have direct hire route that you can go into, and you can land in a role and you can be a specialist from day one. But throughout that, you're supported by mentors and buddies and your line managers and us in the central talent team across HR to make sure that you have that support throughout to move through the organization, do different things. And if you want to, you can spend your whole career with us, and people have done that. But it does give you that chance to continuously reinvent yourself, develop yourself, and push yourself further. And then we've got a great employee benefits package as well. And again, coming from other industries I've come from, it really does compete with lots of other big organizations. So it's things like life insurance and pension and discounts that we get, shopping vouchers, things like that, online health. So again, going back to that being really looked after outside of your day job, it comes with an excellent employee benefits package as well. And now a little bit about the scheme. So again, I'll let my colleagues in a moment talk to you a bit more about their experience of the scheme, but intentionally, the scheme is set up that allows engineering and science students studying at university to come into AWE through a fully funded scholarship. So you join us for a period of time over the summer, sort of in between your and around your studies, to kind of get an insight or an introduction into the nuclear defense sector, where, as I mentioned before, you'll be able to grow and develop your skills and gain that knowledge, while also getting a bit of support with the financial burden of being at university and everything that comes with that. So we financially support you throughout your time studying, with the view that we are looking to move people off of these programs into our graduate programs, and sort of it's a gateway into the organization. So again, you'll hear about it more in a second, but you really get a chance to work with people across AWE, experience what we do. Again, clearance levels will impact what we can and can't say in terms of the content of the schemes, but you still get access and exposure to people across AWE, some of the things that we're doing, and get that real insight into what we do. So if you apply for the program, and we welcome you onto the program, you will, things like your tuition fees are paid. So up to 3 years of tuition fees or contribution towards them will be received as part of the scheme, and then a paid summer placement as well. So again, the guys that will introduce themselves in a second, talk through that, are with us at the moment on a paid summer placement at one of our facilities, surrounded by AWE employees and getting exposure to what we do. That generally takes place July and August each year, kind of between your years of academic study. And again, it's a great experience for you to learn more about what we do and how we do it. Financial bursary is part of it as well. And then you are in a prime position to be considered for graduate roles. So programs like this, the intention for us is to have them as a feeder into our graduate programs and our direct hire roles. So programs like this enable you to get exposure to AWE and figure out, is it a place that you'd like to join post-graduation? It gives us an opportunity to work with you for an extended period of time and make sure that that fit from both sides is right. So programs like this are great, to give you both sides that opportunity to see how it goes, and see if this is the sort of place that you'd like to start your career. But yeah, I'll now move on to the next screen and pass over back to Rachel, take you through how to apply.
Amazing, thank you. Cheers, Adam. So this bit, I've put some QR codes up. Feel free to use them. We'll leave this one on the screen for a minute or so for you all. I'm pretty sure Target Jobs do send you something after this webinar as well, so we can get it sent around if you haven't already seen the links to how to apply. But we are keen, particularly science-wise. We have one advert if you're a scientist, and from those disciplines there on the screen. We would really welcome your applications right now. They're very key subjects for us at AWE. And then the same going for engineering. We are generally able to take pretty much most engineering courses, but we do have some particular areas we're really keen on over the next year or two to get some of you in from. Obviously, radar is on there. It's a little bit of a niche subject, but we do have a particular need for people with radar interest at the moment. So if anyone out there is studying anything to do with that in your modules, please get in touch. We would love to hear from you with your application. So yeah, if you haven't had a chance, try and have a little quick QR scan now if you've got your phone there. But obviously we will try and get the link sent out to you via Target Jobs after this webinar as well for you. We can see you're all using the question boxes, so please don't think we're ignoring them. We know they're there, and we will run a question and answer sort of little piece at the end of this for you. So get voting them up. If there's anything that you particularly all want to hear about, do vote them up, and we will go through as many as we can near the end as well. Thank you, everyone. So what is the process like at AWE? I think it's quite a short one, actually, compared to some other companies. Like, kind of pride ourselves, it isn't too lengthy compared to some I've heard of. So you will need to submit an application. By this is nothing strenuous at all. You will basically answer some eligibility questions. Quite a few of the questions in the question box have been about eligibility. You will see on this slide here that we do have to undergo security clearance to work through AWE. So if you are not a UK citizen, so you do not hold a United Kingdom and Northern Ireland passport, or you haven't lived here for the past 10 years, ideally, some breaks away from the country in between that is sometimes okay. So you can always contact us for more information, but crucially, you do need to hold a UK passport to be able to go for the security clearance. So let's just make that clear at the moment. So you will submit an application, answer a couple of questions to do with mainly where you study, what degree you're doing, what year group you're in, things like that. So we're not asking you long application questions about you to fill out tons and tons of words. You will upload a CV. Again, we are just using that really to have a little look, just to check some of your facts about you, where you're studying, etc. So again, it's not, for us, it's not the major piece of this exercise. Once you pass those kind of stages, we'll put you through to our online testing stages. Always sounds scary. I promise you it's not. You will get sent a link to some online tests, and they will compose of personality, behavioral type ones to see if you're a generally good fit for AWE. And you will also complete some which will be verbal, numerical, logical reasoning type tests, and you will all be able to practice them ahead of time. There will be links for you to do practice tests on the system as well. So please don't let that panic you to think about doing online testing. We do give you ample opportunities to practice them before doing them. Anyone who makes it through online testing and passes that stage will then receive a link and information about a virtual assessment centre, and we will be running them throughout September. So ahead of you, anyone going back to university for autumn term, they should hopefully be all wrapped up by then. So you'll be able to come along to a virtual assessment centre, and that will compose of a technical interview. Again, nothing too heavy, that you should be able to cope with it at your stage of your studies, as well as a behavioural one. Again, just finding out some examples of scenarios, situations you've been in, how you handle different things. And then you will do a really short group task as well. And you'll also have another question and answer piece in the middle of that, where you can speak to colleagues like myself, Adam again, for example. We might have some of our maybe graduates who are on the graduate program might be on it. Different people from AWE can come on it, and you can just speak to them about anything that comes to mind while you're in the assessment centre setting. After that, we will move pretty quickly. So really, from the end of September, we'll be contacting anyone who's successful at getting a space on the scholarship scheme, getting your offers out to you through early October and all the contract paperwork. And we will let anyone know if they are on our batch of any reserves. So if we, for example, didn't have enough spaces and we couldn't put you on there, but we would really love to keep hold of your details, we will contact you about seeing whether you're happy to be a reserve candidate. If for any reason we can offer more spaces or anyone drops out, we would contact you as soon as we can. And then just that reminder, the bottom of the screen mentions the eligibility and being a UK national to work at AWE. I thought I'd add in a few tips. So we ran a lot of assessment centres last year and a lot of online testing. I've been through these, must have done about 28 assessment centres last year. It's quite a lot, and getting to grips with how you all do. So I thought I'd put a few things in here. AI is a big topic in your world at the moment. I know that, Adam, I'm pretty sure you know that, Adam, from your other companies you work in. AI is all over the place, and we get it. I know why you use it. I know how it can be a really good asset in certain situations. We really would prefer you didn't use it. We would really love to know you. You can tell when someone has used AI. There is a difference. It will not be as authentic as you writing stuff yourself, you doing your tests yourself, or even at assessment centre. We've had people looking like they're using it during assessment centres. Please don't. We really want to know the real you. We want your real life examples to make sure you're a good fit for AWE. So if you can avoid using it, we would really suggest you do avoid it. We don't use it at all in any of our process. We don't use AI on our side. So yeah, that's just my main tip there. Preparing, I'm pretty much sure you will hear this all over the place, but please prepare. Know a bit about AWE, what we do. Why do you want to work for us? Why are you keen on the company? That is really key. You can see all different things on our website. It's not as secret as you think it is. There is a lot on there about what we do. Our mission, our values, what we really value from our employees is on there. Have a little dig around and find that information out. And the same goes for your applications. You know, try not to make it too generic. It's easy to blanket put out 20 different applications and then they do look generic. and the same assessment centres and things. Try and have some snippets in there that you can tell you've tailored them towards AWE and the process you're going through. Practicing. So I alluded earlier, you'll get to practice online testing. If you get through to that stage with us, you'll get the option to practice your tests. Practice interview questions. If you're going to go to an assessment centre, practice them with your friends, practice them with the career service that you have at university. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to contact them over the summer. And their careers consultants will offer you usually one-to-one chats if you want to try and practice some interview style questions. Or a main technique that you can use is the STAR technique. So a lot of you might already know this one, but if you haven't used the STAR technique, it's a good way of answering a question where somebody might say to you, explain a time when you've had to problem solve something, or explain a time when this has happened to you. And it just helps you break it down and kind of get some ideas in your mind of what you would say. So STAR itself stands for situation. So set the scene. What was happening? Where were you? What job were you in? Then the task. So what were you confronted with? What kind of actions did you have to undertake? Then you've got explaining all the steps that you did during that. So the next one is action. And then the R is for results. So what was the outcome? What came from that situation? So that's always a good one. And it does work quite well at interview. If you can have a couple of those that you've practiced and you have an idea of in your head before you go into it. I've put be curious because that's quite a common theme at AWE. We really love people who are curious. They're willing to challenge. They're willing to think outside of the box. So definitely have a look at that. Think of questions. Ask them. Ask them during the process. Ask them at your assessment centre. We're happy to answer them in early careers. We'll be happy to answer them for assessment centres or get feedback for you. And ask them about yourself. Ask your assessor, how did I do in that interview at the end of it if you've got some time? Get feedback on yourself. That is, a key behaviour for AWE. So definitely be curious as much as you can be. And finally, don't rush them, especially when you're doing an interview, you're doing your online tests. Try not to rush. If you need to ask for a repeat of a question, do so. It does not look bad on you at all. Please, do ask for someone to repeat it if you're not sure, and think through before you answer things. Just, never panic and don't think anyone's judging you if you need to have a bit more time during that stage. All right. And then before we do questions, because I know there are quite a lot, I am going to introduce our lovely scholarship students we have. And then, as I mentioned to you earlier, team, if you could just mention who you are, what you're studying, why you chose us, just a bit about you, and a little fun fact or something about your placement you've been on with us this summer. So if I start with Charlotte, please.
So hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm studying natural sciences with sort of a focus on environmental science, earth sciences. I do a bit of everything. And why I applied, when I was applying, I wasn't sure if actually I was sort of the right person for this sort of role. It was not falling strictly into chemistry or physics. It was I was sort of tossing up whether actually I should apply, and I thought, oh well, I'll do it anyway. If I get in, fab. If I don't, no skin off my back. And I'm really glad I did apply. Like, what I've really, really enjoyed about the program so far is learning more about the company as a whole and how it operates. We've had talks from loads of different people at the company, and it's actually made me see that sort of my background, while it might not be physics or engineering, there's still so many different opportunities for different skills and different disciplines.
Amazing. Thanks, Charlotte. If we go for Neil next.
Hi everyone, I'm Neil. I'm studying mechanical engineering at UCL, and yeah, the reason I applied for this is it just seemed like a really interesting opportunity to do something a bit different. You really feel the impact of this organization and what it does, and so the opportunity to get into that organization just straight out of university, I think that's a really unique opportunity. And in terms of the placement, yeah, it's been really good. Like Charlotte said, we've been able to talk to a lot of different people from all over the company, from various different divisions and see how they all contribute to sort of the same mission. And even yesterday, we met actually with the executive team, and Charlotte and I and a few others were able to present to them. So that was a really exciting opportunity. And I'm sure you'll get to do something similar when you come in the summer. So yeah, really, really cool stuff going on here. Yeah.
Thank you, Neil. Perfect. Grace, I'll pass on you next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace, and I'm currently studying computer science at university. I'm currently in my first year. And I remember when I was going across, when I found the DISA scheme like listing, it was during a time where I was like very actively looking for like different opportunities and like events that I could attend and maybe partake in, because I figured like the more experience I could build up during my first year, where I have like the most free time, the better. And that's how I kind of came across AWE. And so I figured that like if I was able to secure a job right out of university, then that would be really good for the future, and it would be one less thing to like worry about. So I decided to sign up, give it my best shot, answer like the questions as best as I can. And, surprisingly enough, I got like an email saying that I got in. I was like surprised, I suppose, because I wasn't really expecting to get in. But I'm really glad that I did. So, yes.
Thank you, Grace. And then finally, Robert, you as well, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Rob. I'm on an integrated master's doing mechanical engineering up in Birmingham. So obviously one of the big incentives was the funding. I saw that, I was like, be quite nice to get. But then I actually looked into what AWE have to offer and the grad schemes that they do, and the flexibility that they have across the 2 years, bounce around. It seemed a lot more flexible than what other companies offer, because other companies, though they might move you around, it's very set, 8 months here, 8 months there, 8 months somewhere else. But AWE, it was obvious that you kind of got to choose what interested you. And then since coming on the summer placement and being able to speak to grads at different stages through, so 10 months in, nearly done with their 2 years on the grad scheme, it's been great to speak to them and have them talk to us about their experiences, what they've enjoyed. They've enjoyed, all the people they've met and all the different challenges they've got to face. And then finally, Reading, it's quite close to London, and it's a pretty good place to go out and socialise and go and do lots of activities. So that was also a good bonus.
Lovely. Thank you, Rob, for that. Amazing. We are now at question time, I think, and there are a bazillion of them, I think. I'm just looking through the question chat. If anyone wants any answered urgently, or you all agree with someone else, then please do vote them up, and that brings them to the top of my list. But I will try and work through them as much as we can. There are quite a few questions around eligibility. So obviously we went over the UK citizen part. If you do not currently have that UK passport, then I wouldn't suggest applying at the moment, because we do need proof that you have that. If you were to try and get an offer or a contract for us, I wouldn't want to be wasting your time going through the process. So yeah, I can see some of you got indefinite leave to remain. You're in the middle of going through stuff. Realistically, you're better to know that you've got your passport in place, so that you don't waste your time going through the whole process. Obviously, if this comes up again next year, it's a scheme that we're very keen on. So we are hopeful that we will be continuing this scheme as much as we can over the next few years. Then obviously, if you've got your passport by then absolutely get your application in for that as well. There's a couple of questions around what year group you can apply in. So yes, you can apply in any year group as long as you are enrolled at uni. Once you're graduated, it's a no-no. So you do need to be still enrolled. So you can enroll in first year, second year, third year, or even fourth year of a course, but you will only obviously get paid for up to 3 years tuition fees and financial bursaries during that time. So if you're on a 4-year course, you can apply, but you will only get paid for 3 years worth of that course. And the same goes if you were to take a year out and do a year in industry, you obviously don't get paid like a bursary and stuff extra while you're on a paid year in industry separately. So that year kind of just comes out the middle bit during the scholarship. What else have we got? Because you four that are with us now, you're from different year groups, aren't you? Obviously, Grace, you said your first year. Charlotte, you're going into final year, I think. yeah, so you're all in different stages of your degrees. So what else have we got on there? Chemical engineering. We do take chemical engineers across AWE. The same with computer scientists. Obviously, I think, Grace, you said you're a computer scientist. So we do take computer scientists. How many roles are there? And is the meeting recorded? Yes, this will be recorded and it will go onto the Target Jobs website under the AWE employer page to be able to watch again after this. But we are looking for a lot of people. We're looking for, at the moment, over 70 individuals, probably nearly 80, hopefully, to join us on the scheme at the moment across engineering and science. So it's a big program for AWE. So plenty of opportunities to get involved. I'm trying to look. Anything else?
Rachel, there's an interesting question in there from Jessica around,
Oh, yeah.
have your morals or values differed since working for AWE? So I'll have a go at answering that one, given I'm say 3 months in, but I think they haven't differed. I think what I've seen is that AWE is a place where your morals and values are really valued, and I think that everybody has different ways of working and different ways of sort of behaving and working through their their day-to-day tasks. But AWE has behaviors, has morals, has values that we set as a company, and so I think it's important for you to be aware of what they are, do some research into them, think about some examples of when you've maybe displayed those values that are important to us, because they are reasonably new as well, the values that we have at AWE. And so it's important for you to, during your processes, just be aware of those. And I say during the interview process, if you can think of some examples when you demonstrated them, then all the better. But it's not really changed me since I started in terms of the way I work or the way I operate. But it does seem to, again, due to the nature of what we do, it does seem to be something that's held in really high regard around making sure that people display the right morals and values. So I thought I wanted to answer that one. I thought it was an interesting question.
Yeah.
So pick that
Thank
one
you,
out.
Adam. Perfect. Thank you. We've had someone ask if you can apply for both of our scholarship schemes. We ideally prefer you don't. We will divert you to either one of them, to be honest. It depends on what degree you're doing, and I get it. Some people are on degrees, maybe like computer science, where you might think that you could fit into both worlds. If you are on a degree a bit like that, where you're not sure if you'd fit into engineering or science with us, I will put the initial slide back on in a moment, which have our early careers email address on. You can always drop us an email, let us know your situation, and we'll have a little look and give you some best advice and come back to you on. But normally we would direct you to one or the other, not applying for both. I get you're trying to give yourself the best chance also as well of getting through, but we'd rather you focus on one of them, and we can obviously guide you through the process for either. I feel like Charlotte wants to say something. Charlotte, were you on the science one? You applied?
Yes, yeah. But just following what Adam was saying about morals, a big part of this first placement we've been doing has been a lot about the context of the company. Where do individuals fit in the company, but then where does the company fit in the wider world? What does nuclear security actually mean? And what does it mean to be designing something which needs to work if it needs to work, but will hopefully never ever be used? And the company, from what we've seen in our sort of very short amount of time, is very aware of the responsibility that it holds, and that's really been impressed upon us.
Nice. Good point, Charlotte. Thank you. We've been asked about roles you can take on during the placement. So I'll put that to the you students in a minute, I guess, on a placement. For us, we do an overarching summer placement, which is really a welcome and an immersive experience for you coming into AWE. So that's the first one you do with us, and that's in one place. And you're all joining together, doing the same things, soaking up all that knowledge that Charlotte's they've all referred to, actually, the four of you referred to. And then if there was any other opportunity for other placements further down the line, if you're only in your first year, obviously we would explore that with you. If we have the options for additional ones, then we would obviously come to you with ideas of what those would look like. But I don't know if any of you have any more thoughts to just say about anything really about the structure of the placement you've been on. I know you've got to go out places as well, which is amazing this year. So you've done different things and site tours and things as well.
Yeah, we've done all sorts. So it's because we're all in different years from different disciplines and the scheme's still fairly new. It's been quite broad, which has been really nice. It's generally been like an introduction to the company. So we're not based actually on the main sites. We're out in a satellite office, and it's been a variety of sort of learning days. So we've had talks on nuclear policy, talks on the history of the company, talks from people all over companies, what they do on the day to day. And then we've also had what they've called like simulation days, where it's a little bit like role playing, where there's an imaginary scenario, and then we've had teams which we've been in since the first week, and we're now in week 5 or 6, and there's been like an evolving situation which we've had to respond to in our teams. And then we've also been on some trips, so we've visited sites, and there's also been some trips to some museums as well, so again sort of give us that wider international historical context.
Amazing. Thank you, Charlotte. That's really great. One for you, Adam. We've had a question about graduate career progression after uni and what they can expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. As I mentioned, I think depending on whether you go into the rotational evolve program or you go in as a specialist and you still take part in the program, you just don't do the rotation. So I think for you, when you get to that stage of joining one of our programs, there's a conversation that we will have with you up front as to whether you want to go in and be a specialist right from the day one, or do you want to rotate. Now, if you rotate, as I said, you do get input into those rotations and where you work, and throughout your program, you work with us in a centralized team, plus your line managers and the kind of centralized teams that sit within the functions, so within science and engineering, that are looking at where people will go. It's all kind of built into the where we need people. So where are the critical gaps? So you'll be going into roles where there is a skills gap or there is a need for people to go in there. So you'll be working on like real life important stuff, and you'll be gaining really valuable experience. And so I think to some extent that experience you can tailor a little bit to how you want it to be. So we take on board your feedback of where you'd like to go, who you'd like to work with, the types of roles that you would feel you'd be challenged by. But we take the overall view as well across the program. We want you to develop, we want you to experience different things, so that when you complete the program and you roll off into your permanent role and land somewhere within the business, you've had a great experience across that program. You know different people to talk to, you know how different things work and how they complement each other. So it's all about setting you up early on to be a success and give you the support and everything that you need. But it's what you make of it. And we mentioned earlier about asking the questions and everything else. So everything that Rachel ran through about what to do during the application process shouldn't stop once you arrive. You should still be asking questions and still be challenging people. And you hear this right from our leadership team, our CEO downwards, that we want people to come in with a fresh pair of eyes and question things. And whether you're brand new and you've just come out of university, or whether you've been here for in the industry for 20 years, we want people to challenge how we do things, why we do them, can we do it differently, is there a better way of doing it, more efficiency, etc. So again, when you come in with that fresh perspective, with those fresh pair of eyes, you should be able to feel confident to be able to do that across the program. So it really is what you make of it, but you have all the support around you to make sure that you go on the path that you want to go down.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. We've had a question from Gabriel. So if you apply now, can you get funding for this coming year, or will it start next year after your placement? It will start in the current year that you go into. So if you get your offer this September, October, for example, if you were successful, it would then cover you the funding for the year that you're going into. So if you're going into your final year, you will get funding for that final year of university, whether that's the tuition fees and then that's the bursary as well. So yeah, it wouldn't take like another year for you to get it, if that makes sense. If you have less than 3 years left, can you get funded? No, so you only get funded for the year or years that you have left at university at that point.
Rachel, there's an interesting question from Ty, and again, apologies if I've pronounced that incorrectly, but around how do you test your warheads? Now, I guess that most of us on the call probably not technically
We don't
able to answer that, but in short, as you may well know about the testing of nuclear weapons and the treaty and the banning of that, part of the challenge in doing what we do is how do we simulate that? How do we, without being able to test in some extent how things work, we've got some brilliant people working on simulations and models and how things will react in a testing environment without being able to test a warhead. So that's where the technology, the science, the engineers all come together to figure that out, and that's part of the complexity and part of the challenge of what we do. Now, to get into that in any more detail, you need somebody far more qualified than probably we are on the call. But this again is something that once you work here, you will get exposure to that. But that's why we're looking for the best engineers, the best scientists, etc., is to figure that out. How do we do that, as Rachel said, to make sure if things ever needed to be used, that they would work in the way we wanted them to work without being able to go out and outright test them. So that's the sort of thing that should interest you, should inspire you, should excite you about coming in and doing that type of stuff and figuring those problems out in the cutting edge of what we're doing. So again, a really interesting question that stood out, probably not one that we can go into any more detail of, but it's an interesting problem which we are hiring people like yourselves to help solve.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question, do I have to work for AWE once I graduate? So that, for us, there is a stipulation that if you are offered a role with AWE, then you are required to accept it and be with us for 3 years. Otherwise, you have obviously some stipulation. You're on a scholarship, and most scholarships will have some kind of stipulation in there around repayment. So, and you will find that those kind of terms in other ones that you might see out there. Same for these four on the call as well. Yeah, so if you do get lined up and you are offered a graduate job, then yes, you would be obligated normally to work for us for 3 years, so as to obviously cover yourself in terms of any repayment kind of requirements. So that kind of thing we can give you more details on if you apply. There's a bit more on the advert, and then there would be more kind of at offer contract stage if you were to be successful in terms of what it all means for you to read through. What else have we got? What is the benefit for joining the scheme for someone studying chemistry at university? Interesting. None of you are chemists, are you? Charlotte, you're a natural sciences, but anything really. I mean, we have tons of chemists that work at AWE. They work normally in our materials and analytical sciences function, which, I mean, Adam's already alluded to some of it. They do a huge amount of modeling, simulations, materials testing that they are allowed to do. There is stuff we can test. Obviously, we can't test nuclear warheads, but we can certainly test components or certain materials. And chemists will obviously be quite heavily involved in some of that as well. We have a huge Orion laser facility that tests extremely minute objects, smaller than the eye of a needle, and it fires lasers at them that are hotter than the sun. So we do have all different capabilities around the company. So we've got these core subjects here that we particularly know we need more people in. We need more people with these degree disciplines, these interests, these skill sets. But there's such a wealth of opportunity for all different STEM subjects at AWE, and you will definitely not be bored. Whichever one you come from and you work at AWE, you will not be bored. There will be a lot for you to be involved with. Environmental science, yes, under the science, We don't take as many environmental scientists as we would like to. We certainly do take environmental scientists. We do, obviously, for our environmental monitoring. Obviously, we have to be very cautious about everything we do on our sites and make sure that we're not harming people, the environment around us, and obviously we're abiding by all different policies and legislations, etc. So yes, we do take them on in that respect, and we also do for environmental science more, I guess, in terms of maybe that geology side of things as well. So seismic monitoring and all that kind of area too, just on a lower level than our engineering and kind of physics, maths, chemistry, materials areas, which are probably our much larger intakes for students. But certainly you can put your application in and we will definitely consider you and look to put you through and where we can on the science pathway. How many pages for a CV section do you recommend? We don't use them actively too much at AWE, so I wouldn't worry too much. In the future world of graduate employment, etc., normally 1 to 2 pages of A4 is enough for most recruiters. Recruiters will switch off and not be reading through pages and pages of CVs at that stage. But for us, you don't need to panic too much. It is not something we heavily look at, or we're not scoring you on your CVs or anything at AWE. Everyone likes the PhD question. After you graduate, would you sponsor a PhD? Potentially, it happens at AWE, but I'm not going to guarantee it to the world. It does happen, but it is dependent on business need, where you work. Is there is it beneficial for you to have completed that? Obviously, for yourself, it's beneficial, but is there a need for it in the company? So I'm not going to say no, and I'm not going to say yes for everybody, but definitely there are people who've done PhDs.
This also came up actually when I was over with the DESA students around. People were asking about masters and PhDs and will AWE fund and sponsor them. And as Rachel said, it very much depends on business need. That's a discussion that you would have with your line manager, with your function. If it's an area that you're interested in and it benefits AWE, then yes, that's something we would look into. So there's not a blanket answer for that. It's a case-by-case basis, but it's something that has happened and will happen if it's beneficial to both sides. So absolutely, we wouldn't rule that out. We couldn't promise it, but it does happen.
Perfect. Go on, Grace. You got something?
Hi, Sarah. I just wanted to answer this question I was asked by Priya, where she asked, if you study computer science, do you work in cybersecurity? And I mean, short answer is that, like, when it comes to like a degree like computer science, there are a lot of different departments in AWE where a degree and knowledge in that would be extremely useful. So if you're worried that like you have to go into cybersecurity because there isn't anything else available, that's definitely not the case. There are many different like mechanics and like features which you can definitely work on, which can be a lot of fun. Even things that maybe aren't directly related to your computer science degree. However, if you're asking if you want to pursue something cybersecurity related in AWE, then the answer is like definitely yes. There's definitely a requirement for cybersecurity in AWE. So if you want to have a job in that department, that's definitely available to you. So you don't have to like worry about that. But yeah, overall, your options are like very open. So even if you are right now super certain on going into a certain career path or career choice, you will have opportunities to broaden your horizons and check out different jobs that you could possibly do in AWE. So, I recommend that if you do get accepted, to definitely like keep your mind open and be open and ready to take advantage to try new things.
Love that, Grace. Thank you for picking that one up. That's really helpful from someone already in that position as computer scientist. But to give some context to that too, actually, we recruited computer scientists into both. I cover year in industry as well, and a load of them have started this week. And we have computer scientists working in the physics area, as well as one of them is doing a data scientist position. We've got some in engineering. So yeah. And yes, I'll be honest, there is one in cybersecurity because they particularly like and have an interest in cybersecurity, but they were not funneled into that area specifically. So yeah, computer science, there's a whole wealth of things that you can get involved with at AWE. I've gone back to the front picture of our slides a minute, because someone asked if there's an email we can contact with questions. Absolutely. Feel free to email our early careers team and we will come back to you as soon as we can to go over any further questions. Just a reminder, this is recorded, so it will be on the Target Jobs website under the employer profile for AWE. It should begin to show up after the webinar today if you do want to go back to it. Gabriel is obviously very keen on being with us as much as possible, Gabriel, by the sounds of it. Do you offer any other short-term placement opportunities or any other ways to get more experience with you before the summer? So we don't do other short-term placement opportunities at the moment, but if you were successful to get onto the scheme, much like we do for our graduate entrants and our year in industry, who maybe don't start with us for a couple of months after they accept a job with us, you'll be invited to any kind of virtual events we do. If we do any in-person ones, we will obviously get you along if you can come. And you will join an online kind of platform where you'll be able to contact others and speak to others joining the scheme to know who else is in the same boat as you. So there'll be ways to interact with us and get some more insight before you actually do a summer placement at AWE. What would happen if you get funding but already apply for student finances this year? Good question, which I haven't come across yet. This is our first year of doing this fully, but we would work that out with you and obviously between you and the student loans company and the university at the time in terms of working that out for you.
Rachel, there's some questions a bit further down from David in Nadal around what do we look for in applicants? How do they make themselves stand out? Online form and CV. I mean, I'll let you have a go in a minute, Rachel, as well. But from my perspective, you know, reviewing probably thousands of applications in early careers over the years, we're hiring you on your potential, right? So we want you to really be able to demonstrate an interest in what you're applying to. So, you know, if you're applying for like an engineering program or applying for something like this or a science program, we want to kind of see that on your CV and application form. So just think about times when you can, obviously through your studies you can demonstrate that, but anything else outside of your studies as well, whether that's, you know, hobbies or interests, or whether that's extracurricular stuff or societies or clubs or anything that you're involved in. It's, you know, essentially if we're looking at application for an engineering graduate, for example, we'll want to see lots of examples of this person is really interested and passionate about engineering. And so think about how you are selling yourself in your application and your form. And as I said, obviously through university and through your studies, you think that would demonstrate, but we're looking for other things as well. So just take a look at your CV or application form, ask friends, ask family to do the same and think, is this selling myself in the best way? Is this really getting across my interest in what I've applied for? Because again, try and put yourself in the shoes of the person who doesn't know you, doesn't know your background, is looking at everything fresh. So you're obviously fully aware of your interest, but people reading it on the other side of a screen won't be. So just think about, does this application form and CV really scream that I'm passionate and interested about this? And then the rest of it, you know, again, we hire you on potential. The rest of it you learn along the way, but we really want people that are really passionate about it and really interested in it as well. So just try and think about how that comes across.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Adam. We were probably quite fortunate if you apply through us that we don't put you through a really rigorous application bit right at the beginning. So we don't ask you for too much, but a lot of other companies obviously do ask for much longer applications. And we'll be more thorough with your CV. So yeah, I echo everything Adam says. And as Adam said too, making it tailored to make sure they can see that it's just not a generic. Because I know AI does it for you, where it sends out your application to 50 companies at the same time. It will be spotted, you can normally tell. So if you can tailor application CVs to the company as much as you can, or at least the skills they're looking for on the job description, it will normally put you in a better stead for being selected through to the next stage, at least by a recruiter. But with AWE, we won't put you through too much pressure in that stage. It's more the online testing, which you get to practice, as I said, and then assessment centres, again, where you normally have a lead up time of knowing it's happening a couple of weeks in advance. You can get prepared for it, do some practicing with your friends, your family, career service, if you want to reach out to them and get ahead of the game ready for completing it. But again, as Adam said, we're looking for potential. We're not looking for people to come to assessment centre and know every single answer to everything and have all incredible examples of loads of experience. You might be in your first year of uni. You may not have had some of that experience yet. That is absolutely fine. We're looking for what potential you have for the future for AWE. What impact could you make to the company? And generally underlying behaviours. They are a key thing for AWE, behaviours of people who work for us. So you can see them on the website, have a little look at them. It's always quite a useful tip. You can have a look, see how you think you fit into any of our behaviours. You can try and mention that a little bit at assessment centres. That's always a good tip for you all. But that would be the main insights there. And then we're nearly coming to the end, I think. We've got 3 minutes left. Someone asked if you're on integrated masters. That's fine. You only get paid for 3 years of it. So it depends when you join it, I guess. But you would only get funding with 3 of the 4 years in integrated masters. Who else offers a scholarship scheme? Yes, some of our partner organisations you will have noticed offer the same scheme. We are all offering essentially the same scheme, a little slight differences between us, but we all are very closely linked with each other. We do know what each other's doing. So you might see parts of the MOD do it, submarine delivery, etc. all offer the same programme. How quickly will you get a response? Pretty quickly. We like to be as fast as we can be in our team to come back to you, to your responses. And then go for it, Grace. Last few things to say.
Just was looking at the question that is the placement work more office-based like work or more like hands in the field? I think, over the course of the placement, majority of it has been like in an office and basically learning inside as well. However, very regularly we do have opportunities to like go outside and like basically go on different trips to different places where we're able to learn out there as well. So we aren't just staying, stagnant in the office the whole time. So if you're worried about getting maybe like bored in that sense, there isn't going to be like a worry. And that's what's kind of been like the structure of the placement so far. So I just want to answer that question for them.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Grace. And then I think this will probably end shortly. So just wanted to thank those on the call with us. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Grace, Neil, Robert, and Charlotte. And thank you for all the questions. Emails there quickly. Jot it down, early.careers@awe.co.uk. Drop us messages if you want to ask me more questions, and you'll be able to watch this back on the Target Jobs website. All right. Thank you very much for joining us today, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.